In this tutorial, we're going to put together everything you've learned so far in this class: JavaScript, jQuery, JSON, how to put together a simple jQuery script, and how to identify some popular APIs, along with the HTML and CSS that you learned in the Fundamentals of Web Design class. So for this week's project, you're going to create an HTML page that uses jQuery and JSON to access Facebook's API to display a Facebook page's most recent post. So I think this is a pretty cool exercise that you all will be doing. So the first thing, and follow along in the assignment instructions on FSO, is to go to the developers.facebook.com URL and go to their Graph API document reference and just read through this page just to kind of get an overview of what exactly Facebook's API can do, the different things that you can access, everything from particular users, pages, events, groups, applications, photos, profile pictures, videos, check-ins, friends, likes, photo tags, all these different things are accessible through Facebook's API, of course, depending on authorization. So for certain things like being able to access a particular user, that user has to give you permission to do so through the application that you build. But just go ahead and glance through this so you can get a better idea of what it can do. And then go to the online article whose links we provide, how to make a Facebook feed using the Graph API, JSON, and jQuery. And this is what we're going to be using as the basis for the example that we're going to be building today. And so let me bring up the completed HTML file so you can take a look at what it's going to look like. So you'll see it says loading, and then it brings in the 5 most recent posts from the FSNet, that's a Full Sail Network page on Facebook. So this is what you're going to be building. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and open up Aptana Studio, Dreamweaver CS5, or whichever editor you like. I'm going to be using Aptana. Click on Create New File. And then select Untitled HTML File and click Finish. And remember that it puts in this default HTML, but we're going to delete all of that and start from scratch. So we're going to go ahead and put in our doc type for HTML5. So remember, it's the exclamation point, doc type in all caps, and then HTML in lowercase. We're going to make sure we close that. And then we're going to start with our opening HTML tag. Make sure you have the closing tag. The great thing about Aptana Studio, it automatically puts that in there. So your HTML tag will be the very last thing in your document. Underneath your opening HTML tag, go ahead and put in your head tag. Again, make sure you have your closing head tag. Within your head tags, we're going to add our meta tag for our character set, char set equals, and we're going to say UTF-8. Make sure you have quotation marks around that, beginning quotation mark and ending quotation mark. Underneath that, we're going to add our title tag. Every page should have its own title tag, a unique title tag. So we're going to call this one Facebook feed using the API, jQuery, and JSON. So we're going to come back and add more to our head tag, so we'll just put a few spaces. But for right now, let's go ahead and continue the rest of our HTML document. So underneath the closing head tag, we're going to add our body tag. Close that, and then you'll see, make sure you have your closing body tag. So the second to last thing in your HTML document should be your closing body tag right above your closing HTML tag. Then within your body tags, go ahead and put a header. Make sure you have your closing header. Put an H1 with a closing H1, and we're going to say Facebook page feed for FSNet. Okay, let's go ahead and save this now. So go to File, Save. You can go ahead and just save it to your desktop, and let's call it JSON, JSON.html. So now if you want to use the FSNet as your Facebook page feed, you can do that, or if you like to use a different one, you're more than welcome to use that as well. But there's a couple of things to keep in mind when deciding which page to use for your HTML document. So first, let me go and show you. Here's the Full Sail Network page on Facebook.com. And if I go over here This is the URL that we'll be using to actually grab the 5 most recent posts. So you'll see here it calls to the graph.facebook.com/fsnet, which is the name of the page, /feed as a question mark, limit equals 5, so that's the 5 most recent posts, ampersand callback equals question mark. So basically it's just telling the Facebook API, this is the page that I want the 5 most recent posts. And so if you have another page that you like to use instead, what you need to do is change where it says FSNet to the name of the page you want to use. And so this is generally a page that does not have any spaces in between it, so it's been converted to either put all together or it has hyphens or underscores in it. And so it has to be an official username page name. If you put something in and you get back something that looks like this, where there's no post in it, it just says data, that means for some reason Facebook is not recognizing the page name that you're sending to it, and so it's not going to work. So if that's the case, then what you want to do is just go ahead and use the FSNet one for this exercise. Okay, so once you've done that, let's go back to Aptana Studio and our HTML document, and underneath our header, okay, so let's go ahead and go now to the article, How to Make a Facebook Feed. So this is going to give us the code that we need to add to our HTML document. So if you've gone through and read through the page, you have a pretty good idea of what we need to add. So let's start at the very beginning. So the first thing is we have to add a script that references the jQuery library. So jQuery is a JavaScript library, so what it does is it provides you with functionality that you can access that you don't have to write from scratch. So there's a lot of different JavaScript functions that are very common that people use all the time. So the people who created jQuery decided, well, let's put it into a library so people don't have to write JavaScript from scratch, this very, very long, complicated JavaScript from scratch every time they want to do simple things. Let's just make a library that they can access instead. So by putting this script here, we're actually calling to the jQuery library that Google hosts on its website. So let's go ahead and you just copy that. Make sure you have every character there copied. Go to your HTML page, and within your head tag, right underneath your title tag, go ahead and paste in your script. So it should look like that. Okay, let's go back to our page here. So the next thing is that we need to go ahead and once you've decided which page you're going to use, and you see here this is where the page that they're using, and you've double checked to make sure you are getting data back. So now we need to go ahead and add our JSON into the head area of our HTML document. So they've broken it out here into 3 separate areas just so it's easier to see, but we're going to actually combine them all. So the first thing is go ahead and copy the first section here. Again, make sure you've copied everything, including the ending semicolon to the very beginning. Go to your HTML document. Right here underneath the script that you had added to the jQuery library, type the tag script, close it, and then you should automatically get your closing script tag. And in between your opening and closing script tags, you're going to paste what we had just copied. And so let's go ahead and indent a little bit so that it's easier to see. That's a good practice. Let's go ahead and put some spaces underneath. Okay, so basically this is a function that says Facebook FB fetch. So basically we're going to go fetch this information from Facebook. So you'll see here, this is that URL that tells the page that we want to go to the Facebook Graph API to get the feed from this particular page. So this is their page, Pretty Clicks, but we're going to use FSNet. So change it to FSNet or to whichever page, Facebook page you're using. So make sure, double check this really clearly to make sure that you have it exactly like this. It should have the HTTP graph.facebook.com/fsnet/feed limit equals 5 ampersand callback equals end double quotation mark end semicolon. So just make sure, because if this is not correct, if there's anything missing at all, then your page won't work. So let's go back to our article here. And now we're going to copy the second section. So again, highlight all of this. Make sure you get that very ending semicolon. Go ahead and copy. Go back to Aptana, and right underneath where we had left off, we're going to paste. And again, let's go ahead and grab all that and let's just indent it so it's easier to see. And so now that's just basically saying that we're going to go through the URL, which is the variable URL that we had created up here, and we're going to call into a function that they named JSON to go get the data from Facebook. And then what they're going to do with that data once they get it is put it into an unordered list. So that's where you see the UL, remember from the HTML class, a UL is an unordered list. They're going to start it off with that, and then they're going to create an LI, a list item, for each Facebook message, which is each of those 5 most recent posts of that Facebook page. They're going to close that list item. They're going to keep looping through, that's where it says each, so for each item, so it will be up to 5, create a list item, and then we'll go ahead and close that with our closing UL tag. So that's what that's doing there. Let's go back to our article, and we're going to copy that last section here, make sure to get everything. Go back to Aptana, and where we left off, we're going to paste that in. Again, let's go ahead and indent. And so now, to make it look even nicer, they added a little bit of animation. So you'll see the word animate here. And so this is the great thing about jQuery, is that to actually animate this particular loading of the feed on the page, you would have had to have written all of this custom complicated JavaScript on your own. But because of the jQuery library, which is what you reference up here, you can just literally use the word animate, give it some information as far as what exactly it is that you want to animate, and it will go ahead and take care of that for you. So that's what's so great. So basically opacity is, is it visible or not? And then this is the speed in milliseconds. Okay, so we have that. So make sure, double and triple check that you have your script here for your jQuery library. You have your opening script tag, you have your function, you have all of the ending semicolons, and then you have your closing script tag, and then you have your closing head tag, and then you start your body tag. So it has to be in this order and should look like this. Let's go ahead and save our page.